The words hit me like a freight train derailing in my living room, splintering the quiet afternoon into shards of betrayal. I was curled up on the couch, scrolling through my phone, half listening to the muffled drone of Ethan's work Zoom call from the kitchen table. He thought he was muted. Hell, I thought he was muted, but there it was, his voice clear and casual, slicing through the air like a knife through silk. Yeah man, last night with Sarah was insane. She's got this way of, making you forget everything. Can't wait to see her again tonight. Amanda's clueless, working late as usual. My heart stopped. No, it didn't stop. It exploded, fragments lodging in my throat, my chest, my gut. Amanda. That's me. Clueless. The room spun, the soft hum of the fridge turning into a roar in my ears. I froze, phone slipping from my fingers onto the cushion. Ethan's laughter echoed from his laptop speakers, tinny and oblivious, mingling with his colleagues' knowing chuckle. Dude, you're playing with fire, the other voice said, but Ethan just shrugged it off. Nah, it's under control. She's too wrapped up in her own world to notice. I sat there paralyzed as the call wrapped up with banal work talk. Budgets, deadlines, the kind of corporate drivel that now felt like a mocking facade. The screen went dark, and Ethan closed his laptop with a satisfied snap, stretching as he stood. He wandered into the living room, smiling that easy boyish grin that had once made my knees weak. Hey babe, how's your day going? How's my day going? The question hung there, absurd, while rage boiled up from somewhere deep, a volcano I didn't know existed inside me. But I swallowed it, forced a smile that felt like cracking glass. Fine, I said, my voice steady somehow. Just chilling. He leaned down to kiss my forehead, his lips warm and familiar, and I had to fight the urge to recoil, to scream, to claw at his face. Instead, I let him, inhaling the faint scent of his cologne mixed with the coffee he'd been sipping. Betrayal smelled like sandalwood and lies. That night, as he showered, I paced the bedroom, my mind a whirlwind of denial and fury. It couldn't be true. Ethan and I had been together for 3 years, moved in together last summer, talked about rings and houses and futures. Sarah. Who the hell was Sarah? I rifled through his phone while the water ran, my fingers trembling on the screen. Nothing obvious, no texts, no calls. He was smart, or at least careful. But the seed was planted, burrowing deep into my psyche like a parasite. Humiliation washed over me in waves, hot and stinging. Clueless. The word echoed, mocking me. I trusted him implicitly, built my life around us. Work had been hectic. Late nights at the marketing firm, pitching campaigns until my eyes blurred, but that was no excuse. Was I really that blind? Or had he just gotten better at hiding? I imagined them together, her laughter, his hands on her skin, and bile rose in my throat. I sank onto the bed, clutching the duvet, tears burning paths down my cheeks. Heartbreak wasn't just pain. It was a physical ache, like my ribs were cracking open. By the time he emerged from the bathroom, towel around his waist, I had composed myself. You okay? He asked, noticing my red eyes. Yeah, just a headache, I lied, the words tasting like ash. We ate dinner in front of the TV. Takeout Thai, his favorite, and I watched him, studying every micro-expression. The way he avoided my gaze when I asked about his day. The subtle check of his watch. Gotta head out for that team happy hour, he said around 7 p.m., pecking my cheek. Don't wait up. Don't wait up. I nodded, smiling faintly, but inside, resentment festered like an open wound. As the door clicked shut, I grabbed my keys and followed him. The city streets were slick with rain, reflecting neon lights in puddles that splashed under my tires. He drove to a trendy bar downtown, parking in the lot. I circled the block, heart pounding, and pulled into a spot across the street. Through the fogged window, I saw him enter, then emerge minutes later with her. Sarah, I presumed. Tall brunette, laughing as she linked her arm through his. They ducked into his car, and I tailed them to a motel on the outskirts, the kind with flickering signs and anonymous rooms. I sat in my car, rain drumming on the roof, watching their silhouettes through the curtained window. Obsession took hold, a dark companion whispering in my ear. How long? Why her? What did she have that I didn't? The questions looped, fueling a cold resolve. Revenge. The word slithered into my thoughts, seductive and dangerous. Not impulsive. Oh no, that would be too easy. I needed something calculated. Something that would dismantle his world as he'd shattered mine. Back home I poured a glass of wine, the deep red swirling like blood. I opened my laptop, fingers hovering over the keys. Sarah. A quick LinkedIn search. There she was, Sarah Klein, junior analyst at his firm. Pretty, ambitious, with a profile full of corporate buzzwords. I imagined confronting her, but no, that was too direct, too messy. Ethan needed to feel the sting, the slow unraveling. Guilt flickered at the edges of my mind. Was I overreacting? Maybe it was a joke, a misunderstanding. But the memory of his voice, insane, forget everything, quashed the doubt. No, this was real. And so was my plan, forming in the quiet hours as the wine burned my throat. The next morning, Ethan kissed me goodbye, off to work with his laptop under his arm. I waved from the doorway, the picture of domestic bliss. But as his car disappeared, I called in sick to my job, citing a migraine. Then I drove to his office building, a sleek glass tower downtown. I parked in the garage, slipping on a baseball cap and sunglasses. Cliché but effective. The lobby buzzed with suits and briefcases. I blended in, taking the elevator to his floor. His cubicle was empty, but his desk held clues. A framed photo of us at the beach last summer, my smile genuine, his... what? Forced. I rifled through drawers, finding nothing incriminating. But his computer, that was the key. He'd mentioned his password once, in a moment of trust. Our anniversary date. I logged in, heart racing as the screen lit up. Emails. So many emails. Scrolling through his inbox, I found the thread with Sarah. Coded but damning. Can't wait for our meeting tonight. Winky face. Attachments. Hotel receipts disguised as expense reports. My stomach churned, but I forwarded them to my personal account, then deleted the sent items. Evidence. Ammunition. As I logged out, a colleague passed by, Mark, the one from the Zoom call. He paused, frowning. Can I help you? I smiled sweetly. Just dropping off lunch for Ethan. He's in a meeting. Mark nodded, buying it, and walked on. Close call. Adrenaline surged, mixing with the resentment into a potent cocktail. This was just the beginning. That evening, Ethan came home late, smelling faintly of perfume, not mine. Rough day, he muttered, collapsing on the couch. I poured him a drink, my hand steady. Tell me about it, I said, voice laced with false concern. He rambled about projects, avoiding details. I nodded, but inside, fantasies bloomed. Exposing him at work, ruining his reputation, making him beg for forgiveness only to deny it. Doubt crept in as we went to bed. What if I was becoming the monster? Guilt twisted like a knife. Had I neglected him? Pushed him away with my ambition? But no. Betrayal was his choice. And revenge would be mine. Over the next weeks, the slow burn intensified. I played the perfect girlfriend. Dinners, affection, all while gathering intel. I hacked his calendar app, easy with his password, tracking his late nights. One evening, I accidentally left my phone recording in his car. The audio captured whispers, moans, confirmation. Humiliation evolved into obsession. I dreamed of her face, his lies, waking in sweats. Therapy crossed my mind, but no, this fire needed fuel, not extinguishing. I researched. Anonymous tips to HR, deepfakes, social media takedowns. Morally gray. Absolutely. But justified. Then the pivot. At a company party I insisted on attending, I met Sarah. She was charming, oblivious to my knowledge. Ethan's told me so much about you, she said, shaking my hand. Her grip was firm. Mine hid the tremor of rage. Likewise, I replied, smiling. Inside, cold resolve solidified. This wasn't just about him anymore. As we drove home, Ethan hummed along to the radio, content. Fun night, huh? He said. Yeah, I agreed, staring out the window at the blurring city lights. Unforgettable. The tension built, a storm gathering. Little did he know the lightning was coming. The plan coalesced in the dead of night, weeks after that party, as I lay beside Ethan. His snores a rhythmic reminder of his duplicity. I'd feigned sleep for hours, my mind racing through scenarios like a director scripting a thriller. Exposure. Too public, too quick. I wanted him to suffer the slow drip of uncertainty, the paranoia that mirrors betrayal's ache. And Sarah, she wasn't innocent, but her role was secondary. No, the revenge had to be poetic, twisting the knife in the very wounds he'd inflicted. First, the groundwork. I created a burner email, anonymous and untraceable, using a VPN I'd downloaded on my work laptop. From there, I sent subtle hints to his boss, forged screenshots of inappropriate office chats, altered just enough to implicate without screaming fake. Concerned colleague, I signed off. Ethan's promotion was on the line. I'd overheard him stressing about it. Let the doubt fester. Home, I ramped up the mind games. You seem distant, I'd say over breakfast, my eyes searching his. He'd laugh it off. Work stuff, babe. But I saw the flicker, the guilt, fear. But I forgot to mute my own calls, letting snippets of fabricated conversations drift. Yeah, he's been acting weird. Think he might be seeing someone. He'd overhear, freeze, then pretend not to notice. Suspense built in the silences, the unspoken accusations hanging like smoke. One rainy afternoon, I confronted him lightly, testing waters. We were in the kitchen, steam rising from the kettle. Who's Sarah? I asked casually, stirring tea. His spoon clattered against the mug. What? Oh, from work. Why? Heard you mention her on that Zoom call. Sounded close. My voice was even, but my pulse thundered. He recovered quickly, that smooth liar. Just a project partner. Nothing more. He pulled me into a hug, but I felt the tension in his shoulders. You're paranoid, Amanda. I love you. Love. The word curdled in my mouth. I love you too, I echoed, but inside resentment roared. That night he cancelled his happy hour, citing tiredness. Victory small but sweet. Obsession deepened. I tailed them again, this time to her apartment. Parked outside, I watched him enter, the door closing like a finality. Heartbreak resurfaced, raw and unrelenting, but now laced with purpose. I snapped photos, grainy but damning, from my car. Evidence stacked. Moral conflict gnawed at me. Was this who I was? A vengeful shadow, plotting in the dark. Guilt surfaced in quiet moments, remembering our first date, his nervous laugh, vacations where we dreamed big. But then I'd replay the unmuted words, clueless, and the fire reignited. He deserved this. They both did. The escalation came mid-month. I borrowed his laptop while he showered, planting a tracking app disguised as a system update. Now I could monitor his messages, locations. The first ping, her place again. Texts popped up. Miss you already. When can we escape this? Escape. From me. Fury blinded me momentarily, but I breathed, planned. I forwarded select messages to another burner, building a dossier. At work, the ripples started. Ethan came home frazzled one evening, slamming the door. HR pulled me in today. Some anonymous complaint about fraternization. It's bullshit. I feigned shock, rubbing his back. Who would do that? No idea, he muttered, but his eyes darted. Suspicion brewed. That night, he argued with Sarah over the phone, in the bathroom, thinking I couldn't hear. We have to be careful, he hissed. Someone knows. Someone knows. The words thrilled me, a dark satisfaction blooming. But doubt lingered. What if it backfired? What if he traced it to me? Fear mixed with the resolve, heightening the tension like a taut wire. I upped the ante. Using a voice changer app, I called Sarah from a blocked number. Stay away from him, I whispered, gravelly and menacing. Or everyone finds out. She hung up, but the seed was planted. The next day, Ethan's texts to her exploded. What happened? You okay? Paranoia set in for him too. He started double-checking locks, glancing over his shoulder. Our conversations turned strained, laced with unspoken rage. You believe me, right? He'd ask, desperate. Of course, I'd lie, smiling. But inside, fantasies of justice played out. Him jobless, alone, regretting. The climax brewed during a weekend getaway I'd suggested. Ironic to rekindle. A cabin in the woods, isolated. Rain pattering on the roof like accusatory fingers. We arrived Friday night, the air thick with pine and unspoken truths. Over wine by the fire I let it slip. I know about Sarah. His face drained of color, the glass trembling in his hand. What? Amanda, it's not. Don't, I cut in, voice cold. I heard you. On the Zoom. Unmuted. Denial crumbled. He slumped, head in hands. It was a mistake. Stress at work, you being gone. I'm sorry. Sorry. The word ignited the powder keg. Sorry doesn't cut it, I said, standing. I pulled out my phone, showing the photos, emails, texts. His eyes widened in horror. How? I've been watching, I admitted, the confession liberating. Planning. He begged then, tears streaming. Please don't ruin me. I'll end it. We can fix this. Fix this. Heartbreak surged, mingled with triumph. But here's where the moral gray deepened. I almost relented. Seeing him broken, vulnerable, it humanized him. Motivations surfaced in his sobs. Loneliness, fear of commitment, her pursuit. Layered, not monstrous. But betrayal's scar ran deep. I won't expose you, I said finally, voice steady. If you do it yourself. What? Confess to HR. End it with her. Or I send everything. He nodded, defeated. We drove home in silence, the tension electric. But the twist came Monday. He went to work, confessed, partially blaming a one-time lapse. HR suspended him pending investigation. Sarah quit, humiliated. That evening he confronted me. It was you. The emails, the call. I didn't deny it. You destroyed us. I rebuilt the ruins into something sharper. Rage flashed in his eyes, suppressed but there. You'll regret this. Days later, the payoff, police at my door. Ma'am, we've received a report of cyberstalking, harassment. Ethan's counter-revenge. He'd flipped the script, portraying me as the obsessive ex. He'd moved out that night. The investigation dragged, my job on the line now. Poetic justice. Or unintended consequence. As I sat alone in our empty apartment, the echoes of his voice haunting me, I realized revenge's double edge. I'd won the battle, but the war left scars on both sides. Heartbreak evolved into reflection, guilt into acceptance. Morally gray, yes, but in the end, the cold resolve thawed into something wiser. Freedom from his shadow. Yet, in quiet moments I wondered, was it worth it? The suspense of that question lingered, a final twist in the narrative of us.